And action. Zuri had a question about going organic. Organic eating is very good. I think if you look at the labels that are out there that have been approved by the government, the organic stamp is noteworthy. I think that because some growers can be hit with a levy of fines if they put organic, but they're not really practicing organic, it's a threat enough. And the organization is out there to put in checks and balances to people who put the labels down. You have to be careful because there are other labels that are out there that kind of look organic, but they don't have the stamp. So you have to know how to read labels. You also really should know, I mean, I wouldn't spend all of my money and buy everything organic because I just can't afford it. So how do we figure out? And that's why I want to do the video. EWG, environmentalworkinggroup.org. I heard about it through Andy Wild tell me a long time ago when I was going through the fellowship, and it's a group that is actually very active. They perused some very common state chains of groceries throughout the different states, and they would essentially take a fruit or vegetable, wash it off easily one time, or whatever their process was, and then check for residue, pesticide residue or any form of residue after an initial wash. And they perused a lot of these states, some very common fruits and vegetables, and the ones that had the highest amount of pesticide or contaminant, they'd put in the dirty dozen. So you had 12 fruits and veggies that are always going to be high, or at least were high in testing that year, on adulterants. So those are the ones because of the highest amount. And apples comes to mind all the time, and so does blueberries and strawberries. Unfortunately, I love those things, but those are the ones that always come back high. So if you're going to spend on organic, you want to look at EWG.org's website and check out this year's Dirty Dozen. That's where you want to spend organic. If you don't see it on the Dirty Dozen and you see it more on the Clean 15, those are the ones that were tested and tested again, and they usually will show not as much residue, pesticide or adulterant. So those are the ones you can actually go conventional with. You either have organic or you have conventional, so it's your choice. If you want to just choose organic all the way through with everything you order and buy, that'd be fine. But if you want to spend your money wisely, that's what I would do. Sometimes if you are on a budget, you go to your local French market or farmer's market on Sunday. Those things that you see, you pass by and hopefully stop by and see, but they're in the parking lots. So those guys are usually local growers. Local growers, at least you can talk to the grower and ask or inquire about what they use for fertilizer or how they grow, what else they grow on their fields during off-season. It's kind of cool. A lot of them will know they'll either have, say, corn on one season and soybean on another season to put nitrogen back into the soil. Or it's kind of cool the way they do things. Some of them will use manure. Some of them will use spray on pesticides. Big operations will use the heavier stuff. Small operations, it's hard to afford. So they do the more mom and pop stuff or places will have it more practical. And hopefully if we buy from the local growers, we'll also support them so they can continue growing and having bigger crops, better seed. So it's a positive feedback for the community. So you also get to taste, smell, and see the differences in your fruits and veggies. Nice to go out to those places. Check them out. You don't have to go buy. Just check them out and see. Ask questions. But if you can't do that, you always go back to the old school ways. If you have to buy all conventional because you're on a budget, I mean, even Aldi's, that's a local chain around Illinois, has organic now, which is really cool, or grass-fed meats. So Aldi's used to be considered a low-end chain, but that's kind of cool when they step up. But if you can't afford and you have to go with conventional, there are books that have been touted as being good ideas on following populations in the world that make it to 100. And if you follow the if you see the work of Buettner, I talked about this on TV, You can actually follow what the populations do, and they usually cook from scratch. So the generations now that don't cook from scratch, I think you're asking for trouble. The parents of the generations that don't cook from scratch, you're giving trouble. You should teach them. If you don't know how to teach, both you and your kid should probably take a cooking class. But there's the Food Network. You can watch it. It makes me hungry every time I watch. My father used to love watching that. And I could see that he get excited with a recipe that he experimented with, and he would show us and do the recipe or create the dish. So it's nice to experiment with certain foods. Once you get into the garden, you get your hands dirty, get your hands in the soil, you learn how to chop food so you don't have to process it. You learn how to play with the burner and see how much is too hot, how much is too low. You see how to cook rice, cook grains. It's kind of nice because you're in control. Yes, it does take up time, but again, part of the process of living till 100 involved cooking on your own and having family gatherings where the family would participate in the prep time. The family would all eat together. So there's a lot to be said with old school techniques. So I think there's value in that. And the new generation now that wants fast reward, wants fast answers, does not want to wait, has no remorse for actions that are possibly bad. They have to be careful because slow wins the race. When we're race car driving, when I used to race in autocross, taking a corner slow always got you a faster time in and out of the corner. So if you do slow down a bit and you do smell and partake in the food, you know what's organic, the difference between organic and non-organic, the difference between sockeye salmon and tainted salmon or dyed salmon from a farm. It's totally different. If you're not used to it, you should try it. If you're not used to how the texture of the knife feels or the food feels or the meat feels, you should try it because you get to savor that stuff and you get to appreciate how good quality meals are. And then you get to appreciate how a healthy life is. If you're fast, you're eventually going to be fast into my office. I'll give you a lot of fast medicines and you get a lot of fast surgeries and you'll die fast. So that's not a good way to go. So Zuri, this is a great idea to start with our choosing organic. Be wise with what you choose. Start reading about how to indulge and use different authors that have gone there before you